Welcome to the Allen Press webinar, Strategies for Social Media Success. I'm Joanna Gillette, Product Marketing Manager here at Allen Press, and I'll be your host today. On your screen, you should see some general information about participating in today's webinar. I'm going to go over a few of these items very quickly before we get started. Our presenter will be answering questions at the end of the webinar. If you do have questions, please use the chat function of WebEx to direct questions to the webinar host, which is me, during the presentation. We're using voice over IP technology to broadcast the audio for today's webinar, so please make sure you have the volume turned up on your PC if you're having trouble hearing. Voice over IP quality may vary depending on network traffic. If you are having trouble hearing, you can always call in to listen to the webinar over our conference line. The toll-free telephone number and participant passcode for the conference line are listed next to the green telephone icon on this slide. If you do call into the conference line, please be sure to mute your telephone. We're trying something a bit new today. We'll be incorporating some multimedia in our webinar presentation. We do post presentations online, so we'll be sure to include links to the multimedia content as well. You can continue the conversation with us and your fellow attendees after the webinar using the Discussions tab of the Allen Press Facebook page. Here you can post a comment, share an idea, or ask a question. Today, Taylor Fulton will discuss different social media platforms and give best practices for the types of content best suited for each platform, the variety and frequency for publication, and strategies for using multiple content platforms together. Taylor joined Allen Press in 2011 as part of the client marketing team. He currently works with 9 journals with disciplines in medicine, ecology, and engineering. At Allen Press, Taylor is involved with all aspects of journal marketing, from strategic planning to the implementation and execution of specific tactics. A native of Atlanta, Georgia, Taylor is a graduate of the University of Kansas, where he received a Bachelor of Science in Marketing with an emphasis in entrepreneurship. Outside of work, Taylor enjoys running, traveling, and, of course, KU basketball. I'm going to go ahead and turn the presentation over to Taylor now, and don't forget to send in your questions.
Thanks, Joanna. I'm very excited to be presenting this webinar today. When I was first asked to do this presentation about 6 months ago, I thought to myself, well, I've used social media before, and I've done a little bit of marketing with it, so this shouldn't be too bad, right? Well, what I quickly discovered was that I actually didn't know as much as I thought. I think the primary reason for this is because social media is something that will continue to grow and change as our society and technology evolve. I don't think we as publishers or as marketers can ever learn quite enough about social media. So today, I would like to discuss some things that I've learned over the past 6 months and give everybody just a little bit of knowledge, some best practices, and hopefully some ideas moving forward. So let's get started. I thought I would start by just briefly going over the 3 sections of this webinar. The first thing I will talk about is why bother social media. As a publisher, why should I take the time and effort to create the various social media accounts, post, tweet, like, or comment? It seems like a lot of work for maybe an unsure return. Secondly, I will discuss some of the more popular social media platforms in today's society. This will include Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, WordPress, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. While I realize there are countless other social media sites I could include, I thought that these platforms are probably best suited for publishers in today's world. For each social media platform, I will discuss just a little bit about how each content is used, the variability and frequency needed to maintain the platform, and some best practices for each. Finally, I'll talk about strategies to success and what you can do to enhance your social media presence today. But first, I thought I would start by showing a quick video by Eric Qualman, the author of the book Socialnomics. This book came out just a couple years ago, but every time I watch it, I'm reminded just how important social media can be. So everyone think about that. It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? Okay, now we've watched that video, let's move on to the first section. Why use social media? Here's a simple answer to that. Because people use it. The majority of people use social media networks, and they don't just have one. Most people use multiple platforms and are active on multiple sites. Why use social media? Because people use it a lot. Social networks and blogs account for nearly a quarter of our time spent online, a number that is even higher with younger demographics. And Americans alone are spending more time on Facebook than any other U.S. site, with countries in Europe seeing similar trends as well. Why use social media? Because your competitors are using it. 92% of nonprofit organizations are using social media, and 74% of small businesses perceive social networking as valuable, if not more valuable, than networking in person. Now we've talked a little bit of why you should use social media. We're going to have a couple of general goals moving forward. First, engage your audience with compelling content. This may seem pretty obvious, but there are many publishers, societies, and journals that have Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn accounts that either don't generate content or post content that is not all that interesting. In order to achieve this goal, publishers need to generate a variety of content. So simply put, posting a new issue alert or links to your content will not keep all individuals fully engaged. Second general goal is to interact with your members, subscribers, and followers. So this means starting conversation with them and adding discussions on LinkedIn. Be involved with conversations and interact as much as possible. Make sure that you're the group facilitator and that you're controlling it. In today's world, it's not good enough just to post content. You have to be involved with the content. You need to be involved with your audience. Thirdly, be the subject matter expert. If your publication focuses on zoology or animal science, your social media platform should reflect that you are the expert in these subjects. The goal is that your audience will come to you, or your website, or even your social media site, and either to find the most current zoology news or research. A lot of businesses and journals sometimes have issues with this. thinking that it's not okay to post content that you didn't publish or didn't come from you. But I see on Google News all the time that a new species has been discovered or an animal is endangered. And I really think posting these headlines from these types of major news sources is a great way to reinforce that you are the subject matter expert. So our final goal is to stay consistent with your social media activities. Studies have shown that people operate on routines and schedules. Chances are they check their social media accounts on a routine basis at similar times during the day, whether it be during meals or before and after work. So, like I said, try to be as consistent as possible with social media. Schedule out when you're going to post content, because sometimes creating a social media presence and then being inconsistent or not generating enough content could be actually worse than not having any presence at all. So before we get started talking about each social media platform, I thought I would take a second to share this explanation of social media that I recently saw on the web. Now, I didn't come up with this joke myself, but I did revise it just a little bit to reflect on the academic publishing world. Twitter. I am reviewing manuscripts about #donuts. Facebook. I like publishing donut articles. Foursquare. This is where I publish donut research. Instagram. Here's a vintage photo of my donut journal. YouTube. Here I am copy editing donut articles. LinkedIn. My skills include donut research and publishing. Pinterest. Here's a scientific study about donut recipes. WordPress. I am blogging about the new sprinkled donut issue. And Google+. I'm a Google employee who eats donuts. Now, if you can't tell, my favorite is definitely the Google+ one because it's mostly true. Anyway, now that we're all creating a second breakfast, let's get started on talking about the various social media sites. So we're going to start with Facebook, and as you probably already know, Facebook is the largest social media network in the world, just recently reaching over 1 billion users. These include everyday people like you and me, as well as businesses, brands, musicians, and much, much more. In fact, I actually have friends who have created Facebook accounts for their pets. And sadly enough, I think some of them have more friends than I do. But we're not going to dwell on too much of that today. The point is that Facebook is a huge network, and it's going to stay huge for the foreseeable future. Facebook is, and always will be, the hub for social media activity. When people use Instagram or YouTube or even Pinterest, they're almost always linking back to Facebook. Why is this, you ask? Because Facebook, like we've already stated, is the biggest. In the social media world, everybody wants to link back to where they're the most eyeballs and have the largest audience. So now that I've talked a little bit about what Facebook is, let's talk a little bit about the kinds of content that are best for Facebook. This will be pretty easy because for Facebook, there's almost no wrong answer. Everything from announcements to videos, photos, links, they're all appropriate for this kind of platform. And I would encourage all of you to use all these different content vehicles. Don't settle for just announcing a new issue or driving traffic to your website. As important as these are, try as much as possible to mix in different photos and videos, podcasts, and other types of multimedia. Because of variety, and even being a little unpredictable can help engage your audience and develop a more loyal following. So now, I always see and hear the age-old question, how much should I post? How much content for Facebook is good enough? And here's my kind of generic answer, at least a couple times per week. And I know maybe for some of you that seems like a lot, you don't have the time, you're not sure what to post, but I promise there are endless opportunities out there, and we'll discuss some of them throughout this webinar. But I want to remind you of two important things. One, remember, Facebook is a hub. You don't have to post everything directly to Facebook. You can create content through other platforms as well and run them through Facebook where the larger audience is. Okay? Secondly, not every post has to be a home run. And what I mean by this is that not every bit of content you post has to be groundbreaking or monumental. Hitting singles is okay too. As long as your content varies and your audience knows who you are, and it's okay to post small, simple, and maybe even insignificant content. So now we discuss what type of content is great for Facebook and the variance and frequency of your posting. Let's look at some examples of what other journals and societies are doing today. So here's the Facebook page for the Journal of Cell Biology. As you can see, they do a nice job of having colorful, interesting cover photos, and I really like how they're using the most recent journal cover as a profile picture. So what I want to point out to you is their first post on the bottom left corner of your screen. As you can see, they are driving traffic to their journal website by announcing a particular study in the October issue of their journal. And then you probably already do this or do similar things to drive traffic to your webpage. But I really like how the Journal of Cell Biology used a particular study and briefly described it in order to draw interest from their audience. Instead of just saying, hey, come check out our new issue, they're saying, hey, we have this special study about cytoskeletons, come learn more. I think this method is much more effective. Let's look at another example, okay? Of course, I had to throw in Alan Press as an example. And not to convince all of you to go like us or anything, but maybe you should. But the point is that photos and photo albums and other kind of creative material can really enhance your page. As you can see, Alan Press posted some photos from the last conference we attended. We have a picture of our booth and a picture of our Allen Press representative. We also have a picture of our press room winning an award. Facebook and really all social media channels are great vehicles for making creative content, especially announcements for awards or any other type of special recognition. Try to take advantage of telling the audience just how awesome you are. That's all I have for Facebook, so let's move to my favorite social media platform, and that's Twitter. I like to think of Twitter as kind of Facebook's chatty little sister, a social media platform based on microbursts of information. Some might even refer to it as microblogging or even micropublishing. The premise behind Twitter is that an individual creates an account can follow whichever sources it wants. Some of these sources are going to be individual, some are going to be celebrities, some are actual news sources, and some may even be people pretending to be other people. One of my favorite accounts on Twitter is actually the fake Chuck Norris. Pretty funny. But what makes Twitter unique, and what sets it apart from Facebook and some other social media platforms, is that the content is distributed and received at a much, much faster rate. Simply put, Twitter is more conversational. Some people tweet 20, 30, or even 50 times per day. And this really isn't all that unusual. People are far more tolerant of excessive tweets and excessive posts than Facebook or LinkedIn. That's what Twitter was made for. The content on Twitter will be somewhat similar to Facebook. There's links, there's photos, there's videos, podcasts. They're all great tools to use. The only real difference that I can think of is that the length of announcements needs to be much, much shorter. On Twitter, you're only allotted 140 characters per tweet. So this means you have to get to the point with your audience. Also, if you include a link, make sure to shorten it using the website tiny.cc. This will turn your ridiculously long links into much shorter ones, and then you can add some text to your tweets as well. The variety on Twitter is going to be, again, similar to Facebook. More is always better. The more variety you use on Twitter, the more engaged your audience will be. Now, obviously, because people tweet so much, your content is going to be a little more text-heavy than Facebook or similar platforms, but that's okay. Just make sure to mix in some creative content every now and then, and you'll be fine. So Joanna mentioned during my introduction that I am a huge Kansas basketball fan, and this is true. And of course, as a KU fan and a Twitter user, I follow all the KU players on Twitter. So let me tell you, they are my favorite people to follow, because they are consistently posting photos from the locker room, on road trips, and just around campus. I really love seeing behind the scenes of KU basketball. And I really think this is how everyone should be using Twitter and social media, to post things that your followers and audience would maybe otherwise never see. For instance, post a picture of the journal on the press, or maybe it's just your staff card at work. Like I said, engage your audience. Now that I've talked about Twitter, let's look at some examples. This is a Twitter page of the Journal of the American Physical Therapy Association. Unlike Facebook, Twitter pages are not going to look too dissimilar from one another. You can change your background a bit and change the color scheme, but for the most part, the template is pretty fixed. So as you can see, the journal has utilized Twitter's rapid communication format. On September 6th alone, they tweeted at least 5 times, and probably even more. These tweets include new available articles, new accepted manuscripts, and other types of short announcements with links back to the journal website. One important aspect of Twitter that I want to point out real quick is the use of hashtags. Hashtags are the pound symbol you see right before PTJ at the beginning of the tweet. They allow your tweets to be searchable, so if somebody was looking for tweets about PTJ, your tweets would pop up in the search results field. This is also a way for Twitter to monitor what's going on in the world at that particular moment. The hashtag PTJ is being used a lot or retweeted by a lot of people. Twitter can tell that obviously something must have been published that was groundbreaking or monumental. So when hashtags trend, this means that they're one of the most talked about subjects on Twitter at that moment in time. So this is why it's the best practice to use hashtags in your tweets. My suggestion would be to stay as consistent as possible with hashtags. Use an acronym for your journal or something similar. Don't use a different hashtag for every tweet. Use hashtags as kind of a Twitter slogan. And try not to make them too long. Make them simple. Finally, you can see that this particular journal has placed hashtags at the beginning of the tweet. And while this isn't wrong, I would kind of recommend that place them at the end. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer generally, but I think the majority of people use them at the end. Okay, so that's all I want to say about hashtags. If you have any more questions about them, please feel free to send in questions, and I'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So let's look at another example. The Wall Street Journal. As you can see, the background color is different than the previous example, but the design is pretty much the same. Pretty simple. But what I want to point out here is something that I see a lot of publishers and journals do, and that is only use their own personal content. Like I mentioned on the general goal slide, be the subject matter expert. Retweeting content that is similar to your subject matter or your journal or your society is okay, and can actually help support and supplement content that your journal features. So again, the Wall Street Journal, one of the largest newspapers in the world. They are retweeting people like Brian Fitzgerald. Why? Brian Fitzgerald is not a huge name in our society, but it's because they are distributing content that is important to the Wall Street Journal's audience and followers. So simple retweets like this can really enhance your Twitter and social media presence. Now, I want to show you one more thing on this page that I think is interesting, and then we'll move on. You see how many followers Wall Street Journal has? And you see how many they're following. They have so much content at their disposal, they can afford to retweet like you've seen here. So my recommendation is to follow as many people and as many sources as possible within your discipline. Not only will this increase how much information and content you have, but chances are if you follow somebody, they might follow you back. Okay, so that ends our Twitter conversation. Let's talk about WordPress. WordPress is the most popular blogging platform on the internet today, with over 70 million registered accounts. In fact, 22% of new websites are created and managed by WordPress. So let's back up 1 second. What is WordPress? According to Wikipedia, WordPress is a free and open source blogging tool and a dynamic content management system. Basically, WordPress allows users to build a website using a templated system. Users can choose and add plugins or widgets, as well as link their blog to other various social media accounts. Now that we know a little bit about WordPress, let's look at what types of content works well. So again, obviously the best content for WordPress is blogs. But blogs can mean a lot of things. Blogs can include a summary of an upcoming issue or your thoughts on current industry trends, or even things that are going on behind the scenes of the journal. For instance, the journal hired a new editor. You could use a short blog about your new team member and maybe a little bit of background information about them. Like I said before, these types of behind-the-scenes content can engage your audience and really help out the journal. I'd also like to encourage those who do blog or use WordPress to vary up their content a little bit. Maybe not to the extent of Facebook or Twitter, but moderately. Throw in a video every now and then, or some multimedia. It'll really engage your audience and kind of give a different look to your WordPress blog. I personally really enjoy the Friday video that Ken Anderson posts on Scholarly Kitchen. It's a great break from reading those long and sometimes exhausting posts, and has made me a little bit more of a loyal follower. So with that said, all I can say when it comes to blogging about WordPress is be consistent. Just like any other social media platform, if you're blogging once a week, make sure your blog comes out the same day every week. This way, your audience can expect and anticipate your weekly blog post. Okay, let's look at some examples. The Neurosurgery Report. So obviously this is a WordPress blog of the Journal of Neurosurgery. And as you can see, the blog is laid out pretty simplistically. You can definitely tell that it's templated and conforms to a particular style. But what I want to point out is how they're using WordPress to drive traffic back to their journal website. They have posted a blog about an ahead of print article that is now available on their website. They give some background information on the study, the objective, the method used, and so on. And what I really like about what they're doing is that they're not just announcing the issue, but providing a little bit of background information and context to entice the reader to click through and read the actual article. So what you can do in turn is link this blog post to your other social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and this will help drive traffic to journal content by integrating platforms. What I also like about this blog is the widgets they are using on the right-hand side of the page. They are pushing their WordPress readers to the Facebook page so that they can communicate with them using this channel as well. It's also a nice visually appealing feature that adds a little something to the web page and kind of fills in some of those white spaces. Let's look at another example. The Journal of Ecology blog. As you can see, it looks pretty similar to the previous example, with the exception of the banner, which I do like a lot and would urge everybody to use some color or a banner on their WordPress blog. What I want to point out here, though, is the type of content this blog utilizes to engage their audience. Here, you have an interview with an author of a recent journal article. The interview is on topics related to the published paper that just came out. But what I really like about it is that they don't just type out the interview and call it a day and that's it. They created an audio podcast and actually recorded the interview for the audience to download. And they made it super easy for their audience by providing links to their podcast on iTunes, as well as links back to the actual journal article. They even have a link to the author's personal blog. So content like this is not that difficult and can be done without a huge headache. But you have to plan ahead for it and you have to execute somewhat consistently. That make sense? Okay. I want to point out one more thing regarding their widgets and then we'll move on to LinkedIn. Like the other blog example, the Journal of Ecology does a great job of including widgets that allow their readers to join the blog and get updates on a regular basis. I really like how their widgets shows the Twitter feed. Linking this way is efficient and definitely a best practice in today's social media world. That's all I want to say about that, so let's move on to LinkedIn. As you probably know, LinkedIn is the largest social networking site in the world with an estimated 175 users in more than 200 countries. Put it simply, LinkedIn owns the market for professional networking. Unlike Facebook or Twitter, who have kind of similar target markets, LinkedIn is a little different. It's strictly professional, and thus the type of content that is best practice for LinkedIn is much different than the other platforms we've discussed. Your goal on LinkedIn should not to mass market your journal or society by any means. Use the same campaigns and posts and activity you would on Facebook and Twitter. This won't be welcomed at all. Your goal should be to create meaningful conversations with individuals within your group. So approach LinkedIn as you would if you were networking at a conference or seminar. You want to create awareness for your journal by interacting with individuals and engaging in discussions. Not by screaming, hey, look at my awesome journal. Be professional and create some dialogue with your LinkedIn group. So we've already touched on kind of what type of content is best for LinkedIn, and this is discussion. Discussions can be questions posed to your group about industry trends. It can be current news about your subject matter. It can even be what your audience thinks about certain aspects of the journal, such as color or overall design. I would encourage all of you to discuss a variety of matters regarding the journal and the subject matter it covers. If you're continuously and consistently discussing the same topics week in, week out, your audience will get quickly bored and will most likely find another LinkedIn group that satisfies their needs. So, like I said, try to post consistent discussions, at least weekly, and try to touch on the many different things that keeps your audience engaged. Likewise, members can post on your group discussions and your LinkedIn page, so being involved in the conversation. With social media, you cannot afford to merely distribute content. You have to be involved with the content and be involved with the conversation your audience is having. So with that, let's look at some more examples. Here's a LinkedIn page for the Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science. As you can see, there are posts not only from the group administrator, but from other members of the group as well. So like I said before, facilitate discussions and engage your members of your group. Okay, so now that I think I've used that point enough, LinkedIn also allows you to use polls to survey your group members. Polls are a great source for doing a little market research or getting quick, clear feedback from your group. While I wouldn't recommend using polls all the time, I think one every month or so would be fine. The last point I want to make for this example is the use of announcements. Now, I know I just said before that mass marketing is not a good idea, but there are some and few exceptions. Announcements, submission deadlines, or some journal news is appropriate for LinkedIn as long as you're not overflooding your page with it. Try to keep these to maybe once a week if possible and present them in the most professional manner. Okay? Alright, we're going to move to YouTube now. YouTube is the largest video sharing website in the world and a place where many of us spend countless hours of our day watching hilarious videos, everything from talking animals to commercials that never quite made it to cable television. YouTube offers everything from music videos to personal web blogs, movie trailers, even your average show's family vacation. So many companies, small and large, have began to use YouTube as a serious marketing tool. Companies like Southwest Airlines and Coca-Cola have created marketing campaigns with YouTube contests where loyal customers can post and upload their videos to YouTube and show their undying support. I've also seen a great idea from publishers in the scholarly publishing industry. The content for YouTube, again, is going to be videos and short clips. The variety is going to be very moderate. Obviously, you don't want to put anything extraordinary on YouTube. You want to keep it somewhat professional. But ideas that are creative and inventive work very well. People love to see these kind of things. They love seeing the journal through a different light, and they love seeing the content presented in a different way. So my suggestion to everybody is pretty simple. Be as creative as possible, and explore what other companies like societies and journals and what others do with YouTube videos. So similar to what I've said before, the more you can mix up your content on YouTube, the better. And if that means you're only posting once a month, I think that's okay. As long as you're consistently posting once a month and deliver quality content to your audience, you'll be pleased. I've seen some good ideas from journals out there, so I wanted to share a couple with you. Here's a YouTube channel for the New England Journal of Medicine. Now, while this is a good example, it's not my favorite because the content really doesn't vary that much, and it kind of stays within the box. But it's a great example of how you can use supplemental videos to support your journal content. This is the type of media that can really engage your readers and develop a more dedicated following. So as you can see, each video supplements content that already exists in the journal. This is a great way to engage readers and expand on how the content is presented to them. For instance, I think it would be an awesome idea if someone created a documentary that went along with the journal. You could interview the researchers, and you could see the step-by-step process that happens during this research. I think as technology and social media continues to grow, these are the types of marketing efforts that journals will have to do to stay relative. Okay, so our second example, the American Journal of Medicine. Similarly to the previous example, the journal does not do a great job of mixing up their content, but I definitely appreciate the creativity they've shown here. Each video is an introduction to a new issue of the journal by the editor-in-chief himself. It talks about any special articles or features the journal may be including and kind of summarizes what to expect. None of the videos are very long or filmed with any high-tech equipment, but it really is engaging and interesting to see. So from here, we're going to move to a relatively new social media platform with Instagram. Instagram is a photo-sharing network in which individuals can take a photo with their smartphone. They can apply a digital filter, which is pretty much just deciding what kind of light or tone you want with the photo, and then sharing it with your Instagram followers. So in a sense, it's similar to other networks, except that you're only posting photos from your smartphone. But people can still like your photos and comment on them, and they can scroll through them on the network. But what Instagram is really good for, and I think publishers should use it for, is linking to Twitter and Facebook. For any company or publisher, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense just to post Instagram. The majority of your audience is not spending a whole lot of time there. They're on larger networks such as Facebook and Twitter. The best way to utilize Instagram is to link your photos this way. Like I've said before, probably too many times now, the more variety you have, the better. Similarly to YouTube, I encourage you to be creative and let your audience see behind the scenes of the journal. This could include taking pictures of the journal in the press, or an award your team has just recently won. You could even just see a picture of your office. I think you'll be surprised how many people are interested in things that you probably don't think matter. As with other types of social media content, be consistent. Try to post photos at least once per week, if not more. So here's a Time Magazine Instagram account, and what it looks like to my iPhone. Each account will look almost identical to this layout, as there isn't much you can really do besides the photos you have in your collection. But what I want to point out is what Time is posting to Instagram. The majority of their posts cover things that are cover photos that aren't that high def, but they're coming from a phone, and that's kind of the beauty of Instagram, that it's your mobile photo album on the go. So if you liked an image or wanted to see the comments on it, all you would do is click on the photo and voila. It'll enlarge and magnify, and you can comment on it, or you can swipe it, or like it. So what you also notice with this page is that Instagram uses hashtags similar to Twitter. This makes all the images searchable, which is a great tool when trying to track the effectiveness of your campaign. So for instance, if Time wanted to see if their hashtag fact wars had picked up any legs in the social media world, all they would have to do was search fact words on Instagram or Twitter, and they could see who else used that hashtag and how successful this campaign's been. Okay, so I think that wraps it up for Instagram. We're going to move on to our last social media platform, and that's Pinterest. Pinterest is the fastest growing social media network today, and trails only Facebook and Twitter when it comes to total users. Pinterest is a 10-board style photo sharing network. So instead of posting mobile images like on Instagram, users pin photos generated by third-party sites like retailers or even publishers or other companies as well. Furthermore, users can create theme-based collections of their photos. So it's kind of like having a photo album, but they're all themed. What makes Pinterest tick, though, is that each image is linked to a website. So for instance, if I go to Susie Q's Pinterest account and I see an image of chocolate chip cookies that look just delicious, I then choose to click on that image. And what will happen is I will be directed to Mrs. Steele's Cookies website, where I actually have the option to purchase those cookies. That's pretty clever, huh? What I think is even more clever is that I've heard recently that Pinterest is looking to profit off of this business model by collecting a kickback fee whenever one of these sales occurs. That's pretty impressive, and I think it's actually going to drive a lot of revenue. So again, all of the content that a user would post on Pinterest will be linked images. Currently, a lot of retailers and popular magazines are having success with Pinterest because they have so much professional photography done, they can easily upload it to the Pinterest network. All of the Pinterest images you use should be high quality and not really have the mobile aspect that Instagram calls for. It's just kind of a different tool. So journals that have a lot of color or use a lot of images in their content would be great candidates for Pinterest. But if your journal is mostly black and white and isn't really used that often with images, you may want to focus on other platforms for communication. So again, I'm going to use the Time Magazine account as an example. As you can see, the platform is very image-based, and each account has theme pin boards, if you will. So let's say I'm interested in looking at the 31 healthiest foods pin board. This will bring me to the 31 images seen by Time Magazine as quote-unquote healthy. All the photos are very stimulating and make me even more hungry than I was before. But I decide I'll just go with some Greek yogurt. Now I can read a little bit more about Greek yogurt. I can like the image, I can repin it, I can pin it to my personal board, I can like it on Facebook, I can tweet about it. There are a lot of options here. But I decide to dig a little deeper into the Greek yogurt, so I click the image again. Now I'm at the Time WordPress blog, the Time Healthline, and I can read more about Greek yogurt, as well as scroll through the other 31 healthy foods with all recipes included. Unfortunately, my donuts did not make this list. So you see, Pinterest can be a great tool for publishers in order to drive traffic to journal content online. Let's look at a second example. Again, we're back at the Time Pinterest page. But this time, instead of clicking on the 31 healthiest foods board, we're going to select the Time covers in the upper left-hand corner. As you can see, this is the pin board for all Time Magazine covers that were put out recently. Time is very well known for having colorful, elaborate covers for each issue. So a pin board solely for their covers is a really great idea. Let's say we wanted to select the most recent cover in the upper left-hand corner. Again, the image is enlarging, so we have the option to repin the image, or like it, or tweet about it. Let's say we like the image so much we want to know more about it, and so we click through the link. The link takes us back to Time Magazine's website, where we can actually purchase the cover, we can read the story, or we can see other recent covers. I think this is a great example of what publishers can do with Pinterest. Alright, and that kind of wraps up the social media platform section of this webinar. We're going to move on to some strategies for success and what you can be doing to enhance your social media presence and make everything a little more efficient. So I want to start off by one of my favorite quotes. Do or do not. There is no try. Yoda was definitely a wise little guy. I think this quote is especially true because with regards to social media, you have to go all in to be any success. Posting content every couple weeks or not responding to your audience is probably worse than not having any presence at all. If you're going to do social media, you got to do it right. Start out by making some very detailed, time-specific goals. For example, you could shoot to increase awareness within your target market by 10% next year. Or you could increase the rate of subscription retention by 20% for 2014 subscriptions. You could even have a goal to increase traffic to the website by 15% by the second quarter. It's up to you. Your goals can be as simple or as tough as you want, but just make sure that they're time sensitive and very specific. Okay? Alright. So once you have goals in place, make sure to include social media in your general strategic marketing plan. Just like you have developed strategic plans using email, direct mail, collateral materials, and advertising, you need strategic plans for social media. Don't go in blind with no idea what your strategy is, because this way you'll never see results. Instead, you have to develop strategic strategies and tactics. Your strategies are going to be your overarching plan for social media. So for instance, your strategy might be to use social media to creatively and efficiently communicate with all of your existing subscribers, as well as increase awareness for the journal and reach new subscribers. Now that you have strategy, you're going to need tactics to achieve it. These tactics will be very specific and should include an activity for completion. An example for a tactic might be to create Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn pages. Second tactic might then be to insert social media buttons on all of your collateral marketing materials and on your journal website. If you already have a pretty efficient social media program, a tactic might be to post blogs every week, or every Thursday, or every other week, being consistent through Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Does that make sense? Okay, so after you've established your tactics, a campaign calendar is a great way to organize all of your campaigns. Here you can schedule out what you're going to tweet, post, or blog about. This is a great tool for keeping you on top of your social media account. So just make sure to plan ahead and give yourself plenty of time for things like videos, blogs, podcasts. These things take time, so you need to incorporate that in your calendar. And of course with social media, things are going to happen fast. And there's going to be instances where you can't schedule out what you're going to post all the time. If a photo opportunity arises, or some industry news just broke, or you have a blog idea that just came to you, go for it. The calendar of tactics is just a routine outline. With social media, you're going to have to interact and post things that you don't plan for. This is not a bad thing, it's just the beast that is social media. So, as long as you're staying within your strategy and your overarching goals, posting content that you don't plan for, it's fine. So let's say that you commit to social media, or you're ready to take your online presence to the next level. But all of a sudden, it occurs to you, where do I start? This situation brings about two important questions. The first is, which platform should I utilize? And while there's no simple answer to this, there's three tidbits of advice I'd like to share. First off, I would highly recommend starting out with finding where your subscribers are, or members for that matter, are online. Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter, LinkedIn, or even Pinterest? Where does your community like to interact online? And the answer to this question is simple. Just ask them. A survey is a great way to find out more about your target market and what social media platforms they use. You could do this through a short email or at a booth at your next annual meeting. But just know a large part of your social media success will come from whether or not you know where your audience is. If you're posting content to Facebook, but most of your audience is on LinkedIn, it's going to be very tough to find success. Another point I want to make is to stress the fact that the vast majority of social media sites are absolutely free. Each platform I've discussed today requires $0 to create an account and $0 to interact. And there should be no focus on money when deciding which platforms to use. And the last point I have about this question is you've got to stay efficient. So it's impossible to cover your entire audience with one or even two platforms, but if you can efficiently reach your community with multiple platforms, that's what you need to do. Make sure to incorporate this into your marketing strategy. I actually recently just read an article that said 40% of your target market is utilizing a particular platform, then you need to be utilizing it too. So I guess unless you can officially run your social media, the more platforms, the better. Okay, now that we have some guidance in what platforms to utilize, let's talk briefly about how we're going to implement them. So like me, I'm sure all of you are thinking, all this social media is great, but I don't have the time, the energy, or the resource to do all of this. I mean, the setup and the integration of all the platforms, the generation of interesting content, all the tracking involved, that's just going to take way too much time. So here are a couple of suggestions I have for those of you that don't have the time to tackle everything social media. For one, just like any other activity within a society or journal, delegating is always an option. See if there is a volunteer within a society that would be willing to take on social media. Just like you appoint society members to volunteer on various boards or committees, see if there's anybody interested enough to do this type of work. Second option would be to hire an intern, and a free intern at that. I know personally that from college, people are always looking for ways to boost their resumes. So try to find a student member at your society or somebody at your local university that would be willing to work with your social media in exchange for a tremendous letter of recommendation. You can always contact either the University Career Center or even the business school, and most likely they'll help you fill your post and fill the position. So I think you'll be surprised with how many people jump to the opportunity to do this type of marketing. So hopefully these recommendations and tidbits of info have helped you to where to start. So let's move on to how to manage your social media platforms. There are various social media management tools out there on the web today, but by far my favorite is Hootsuite. Hootsuite allows the user to create a social media dashboard where they can see all of their online activity on one page. Users can post and track all of their Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, MySpace, WordPress, Foursquare, and even Google Plus platforms, all from one dashboard. It's a very impressive system, and I think it makes my social media much easier to use, monitor, and manage. What is also great about Hootsuite is that you can choose to either use the free version or pay only $10 with the professional version. Both work pretty much the same, except that you get some more advanced analytics, and you can post to more platforms with the professional version. But for me, I use the free version all the time, and it works great. So here's an example of what the Hootsuite dashboard looks like. As you can see at the top, you have tabs for each of your social media platforms that you can choose to work and manage with. You can see I have the Twitter page up here, and it has my complete Twitter feed, my mentions, my direct messages, and the tweets I send out personally. This makes everything much easier. What I also like about Hootsuite is the ability to post links to many platforms. So for instance, if you have a Nobel Prize winner like Robert Lefkowitz, that's going to be published in the journal, you can run it once through Hootsuite, and it'll go to all your platforms, including LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So not only does this save time, but Hootsuite organizes and tracks this announcement much better than I could myself. Social media world, in my opinion, it moves too fast, and there's too much information thrown out all at once. Now that we have a good system for managing our social media content, let's look at two different stages of social media implementation. Stage 1. The first stage is exactly what we just discussed with Hootsuite. First, set up accounts with WordPress, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Once you've created these accounts, set up a Hootsuite account so it can manage all of these platforms for you. Now you can post, monitor, and manage through one easy system. Okay, so after a while, if you think you got stage 1 down, or you're ready to move on to more complicated things, you can go to stage 2. Stage 2 is going to look identical to stage 1 starting out, but we're going to add Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram. Now, Hootsuite doesn't allow you to download YouTube or Instagram, but you can use them as apps. And this gives you the ability to monitor these platforms with the others. The drawback is that you can't post content to YouTube or Pinterest or Instagram. This makes a lot of sense because you can't post things or let links through YouTube or Instagram. There are more devices to generate content. Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn are things that you want your content sent to. So because you can't post with these mediums through Hootsuite, this is what you do. First, you're going to link your Facebook account to Twitter. Then, you're going to link your YouTube and your Instagram accounts to Facebook, and it will also run through Twitter. So for Pinterest, the process is a little different because you have to create a business account through a personal account. You can't just link your business account on Facebook to Pinterest. But you can link to Pinterest through your Twitter account, because for Twitter, your account doesn't have to be specific to an individual company. Make sense? Okay, there's one other integration method that I want to quickly discuss, and that's embedding social links into your journal webpage. This will kind of be like stage 3. As you see here, we have the Allen Press mail blog. This gives all of our clients information on the United States Post Office and any updated regulations or announcements they may have. You can see towards the bottom of the page that we have links to the most recent blog posts. Here, our clients can easily go to the blog and read full stories on any post that interest them. Embedding your blog back to your webpage is an easy way for your visitors to go to the blog. It also has a great way to market your social media platforms that's interactive. Next, we're going to talk about the Allen Press Facebook feed, which again is embedded to the Allen Press website. Whenever we're posting anything on Facebook, it's also going to appear right here on our webpage for visitors to see. Once you feel that you have a solid footing with social media and you're consistent and have started building an audience, try embedding your accounts to the journal webpage. Now that we have a general plan for integrating platforms, let's discuss a little bit of how to market your social media. For starters, place the social media buttons for the platforms you're using on all of your collateral material. Put it on postcards, brochures, renewal pieces, and especially on the homepage of your website. Make sure it's clear that all your customers know that you're now on social media and online. second way to boost your audience is to get a small discount for those who like you, follow you, or subscribe to your blog. A good example of this is recently I went to a local t-shirt shop here in Lawrence. I was looking for the perfect Jayhawks t-shirt to wear to the game. So finally, after about 10 minutes of looking at all the various blue shirts, I picked one. As I went to the counter to check out, the person at the register asked if I would like to like their page on Facebook for a 15% discount on my shirt. And they had the laptop there and everything. All I had to do was sign in, like, and I get my discount. So of course I said yes. I just thought this was an interesting anecdote in a simple way to create your social media following. A third idea for boosting your audience and creating awareness of your social media activities is through contests. Organize contests only for Facebook fans or only for Twitter followers or group members on LinkedIn to drive more people to your pages, especially if what you're offering is a pretty good prize. So taking along these kinds of lines will help you build your social media presence and attract people within your target market. Okay, that just about does it for this webinar, but before we get to any questions, I have a few final thoughts. First, I want to reiterate that social media is not going away. The strategy of, well, my subscribers and members, they don't really use social media, so I'm not going to bother with it. This is no longer going to be acceptable. Our society is evolving, and as the youth get older and older, it will be imperative to have social media in place. Secondly, I want to encourage everybody to never stop learning about social media. Like I said before, I've learned so much just from doing this presentation and researching on a weekly basis. Sites like Mashable are great resources for social media best practices, ideas, and news. So try to read at least 1 or 2 social media articles a week just to stay up to date. Third, integrate your social media platforms. Link Instagram and Facebook and YouTube to WordPress and all of them to Hootsuite. It will make your life so much easier and your efficiency will be immeasurable. My final point I want to make is think strategically. Think of social media as an interactive marketing channel. Treat it just like you would other marketing activities and campaigns. Establish goals and strategies and tactics, and don't just throw around content all over the place for no rhyme or reason. And remember the grand rule of 3. Successful marketing campaigns should use at least 3 different channels to get their message across. So use multiple platforms and mix in social media with your other marketing vehicles, such as email and press releases. Social media should fit nicely within your overall marketing strategy. Well, that's all I have right now. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them to me, or you can email me at cfolsom@allenpress.com.
Great, thanks, Taylor. We do have a couple of questions that have already been chatted in, so we'll go ahead and get right to them. You had pointed out a suggestion for shortening URLs earlier in the presentation. Can you remind us what that website is?
Yep, the website is tiny.cc, and what you do is you'll just copy your long link into kind of a field and press a button, and it'll turn it into a very short link that you can insert into Twitter.
Okay, great. I had another question for low-budget journals with busy editors and few image-driven content. What do you suggest would be the best social media strategy, and which platforms should they focus on?
There's a lot of routes you can go with this. First, for busy editors, I think finding a volunteer or finding a student intern is a great way to do this. Like I said, I know being a recent college grad, I was always looking for opportunities to put something on my resume or help out a business. So that's where I would start. Secondly, even if you don't have a lot of images or color, I still think Facebook, Twitter, WordPress, those are all great ways. And you don't need a whole lot of color. You can do podcasts, and you can do other audio and other multimedia. I think those 4 will be most beneficial for you.
Okay. We had a question about posting to LinkedIn through Hootsuite. And the question is, do you need to keep the content to one line that appears in the subject line? This individual says she hadn't had any luck posting longer messages.
Yeah. So with Hootsuite, because you're going to multiple platforms and some of them can't be as long as others, you're going to have to manage it that way. So if you have a really long post, you might only be able to run it through one of them, just like Twitter. If you're running a paragraph post, you're not going to be able to post that to Twitter, so you're going to have a different post just for Twitter for that. So with LinkedIn, it might be the same way.
Yeah, okay. We have a question about Google Plus. Is Google Plus going to become important in the near future?
If you didn't get it from my donut joke, I certainly don't think so. But I have heard rumors that Google may take into effect if businesses and companies have a Google Plus account, it might affect the ranking on Google. And if this does happen, then you might see a lot of people flocking to it. So I think the jury's still out on that one.
Yeah, definitely. So another question, is there value to using WordPress to post only existing content from the journal? So article or title, author, names, abstract, or do you think that WordPress should be used more for posting original content?
I don't think, there's no wrong answer, but I don't think WordPress is a great tool for just pushing out content that already exists. I would recommend maybe writing a blog on that article or an interview with the author or that links back to the article or something like that. So I see what you're saying, you want to link back to the original article and drive traffic that way, but I don't think posting the entire article on WordPress is best practice.
Yeah, so maybe an abstract with a little bit of commentary on that and then pushing that back would be a better idea. Yeah. Here's an interesting question. Do you have a demographic for those that readily use QR codes, and do you think those are an effective strategy?
I do not know the demographics, except they're probably younger people. I do have QR and the Microsoft tag on my phone, and whenever I go to restaurants or anything, they always have them on menus, and I'm always using them. And we use them a little bit through our marketing efforts at Allen Press, but we're still trying to figure out what's the best way to use them. So I think right now there's not a best strategy for it, but I do think moving forward they're going to be all over the place.
Great. Well, it looks like that's all of our questions, and we have gone over by just a few minutes. But I do want to thank those of you who stuck around, everyone who attended the webinar today, and I want to thank Taylor as well. I do hope you enjoyed today's presentation and that you'll try out some of the ideas that we shared today. We will be sending out a brief survey that will include both links to both the slides and a video recording of today's session, and of course a link to the video that we showed will also be in the slides. So please do take a few moments to complete the survey when you receive it. We're always looking for